Well, here we are. Thank you so much, everyone. We're a little bit late, but we appreciate your patience. All right, so we are back. All right, from the Fan Expo this past weekend. So we're going to talk about that, and we're also going to talk about our topic today, which is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. So we're still doing our Indiana Jones rewatch, just in time for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny releasing on June 30th. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Kerwin. This is Keith. We are Father Son Galaxy. If you're new, watching us for the first time, thank you so much. Please just stay with us, and if you're not a subscriber, we ask if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel. But just thank you for joining. And to those who have heard us before, welcome back. Thank you so much. Let's just start. Well, I just want to start by talking about this past weekend. We really had a great time at the Philly Expo. Right. So, we just wanted to just spend a few minutes to just talk about that. So we were on the podcast stage. Right. And then, we had a topic, which, by the way, the episode or the podcast stage that we recorded on Saturday, this past Saturday, that will be available soon on our YouTube channel and our audio platform. So we'll let you know when that's ready. But we were fortunate enough to have our own panel. And we also did moderating. We moderated a panel that featured two artists, well known in the Star Wars community and very talented. First one is Joe Caroni. He is considered a Star Wars licensed artist. And so this wanted to show you one of his pieces of artwork, which was wonderful. Okay, let me just put it here like that. Just throwing it up, right? So that's Ahsoka. That is his artwork. All right, pretty cool. All right, and then we have Erin Leffler. All right, who is an artist as well, and this is her artwork. So what we'll do, let me see, does that work? Yeah. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we'll put their contact information in the YouTube description, so that if you wanted to we'll get some more information about who these artists are, and look them up, and look at some of their artwork, and maybe purchase something. We'll put their contact information in the YouTube description. All right. So now there were a lot of celebrities there. Now I did not get the chance to really see anybody, but you did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, who did you see?
I saw in consecutive order. I saw Katie Sackhoff and Joseph Quinn.
Katie Sackhoff. Okay. All right. Well, tell me the story. Katie Sackhoff.
So I was actually trying to get into the line for Giancarlo, but that line was like wrapping all around the place. So I'm like, yeah, I can't do that. So I decided, I'd get in line with Katie Sackhoff, and that line is longer than it looks, okay?
Okay.
They have these people looping around multiple times just to get through. And then I'm up at the front, and the guy's like, are you buying anything? And I'm like, I'm broke.
Okay.
And he says, well, you got 30 seconds at most. I'm really bending the rules for you. Go! I'm like, hello. She remembered me.
How about that?
Yeah.
So from the interview that we did, the round table that we did.
I'm sure the big Father Son Galaxy logo on my shirt helped.
Not possible. But,
yeah. So I said hello. She said hello. And then I really had to run because it was 2:59 and we had our panel at 3.
Right. Yeah, that was very interesting. Yeah. So our panel started at 3:00.
Oh my God.
And you were there up until 2:59, a minute before the panel started. But you did show up to the panel, which was fantastic. Yeah. That's a cool story. Okay.
I made it just in time.
You did. You made it just in time. You made us a little nervous. All right. And then you took a picture with Joseph Quinn.
Yeah, that was Sunday.
Okay. Yeah. Tell me about that.
So all of that stuff is downstairs at the convention center. So I went downstairs for the photos. Turns out if you're programming, you get VIP. So I was lucky enough to be able to ask. Being smart and all.
Okay. VIP.
So I asked them, does programming get VIP access? And they said, yeah, lane 10. So I went up, I got the photo, I left. Meanwhile, upstairs, Mom was ready to own the place because she's like, where's my son? Where's my son?
So you walked away. Okay, you were on your own and Mom didn't know where you were.
And
Okay.
you and Maceo were
Walking
wherever we
around.
were.
Yeah. How about that? But you took the picture and it
Yeah.
went well. Did Joseph say anything to you?
He said hello. It was a 5-second interaction.
That was it. Okay. And then you took the picture, and then we have that picture up on our social medias if you have not seen it. So very cool. All right. Now, I guess he couldn't say a lot because he had so many people waiting in line to take pictures. He really didn't have time to start a conversation with anybody. So
I wore that Father Son Galaxy shirt for a reason.
you did, right, and it's in the picture, so that's pretty cool. All right, wonderful. That's awesome. Yeah, like I said, I didn't get to see anyone. I think I saw, well, not I think, but I saw Henry Winkler from a distance. Chaz Palminteri was also there. But
Did Henry Winkler wink at you?
no, he did. Yeah, no, he did not. I wasn't that close. I wish I could have, but that was the time I was walking. Mesa was walking around the convention center. So, all right. So that was it. So let's go with Q&A. Alex, thank you. Welcome back. So cool that you both had a panel. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, Alex. The artwork is amazing. Hope you both are doing well. I heard about smoke from the fires in Canada spreading through the East Coast. Hope everything's all right. Yes,
it smells like Canadian bacon up here. I kid you not.
All right, it's not Canadian.
I can't breathe the air outside. We got air filtering in through the house. That's safe because it's crazy out there. Man.
Yeah, but in all seriousness, yes, you're right, Alex. So we are experiencing some of the smoke, not as much as New York City, from what I can see. But today it's been a cloudy day.
New York City is orange right now.
Yeah, the skies are orange. But this morning when we walked out to head to work and head to school, you could smell the smoke. And then even coming home this evening,
worse.
it was the smoke is still there. It smells like it's getting stronger. So I'm not quite sure what's going to happen next, what's going to be done tomorrow. But we're safe. We're home. We're not. We're trying to limit our time outside. But we're doing fine. So thank you so much for bringing that up. Thank you. And
Alex.
Yes.
It's so awesome that Katie Sackhoff remembered you, Keith, and that you ran like the Flash to get to the panel in time. Also cool that you got a pic with Joseph Foot.
Yeah, that all happened. I can't believe it. Yeah, that's exactly. All right. Anybody else? So Podcast of the Wills. Look at that. Nick. We missed you, Nick. Good evening. Good evening to you. Thank you so much. All right. And by the way, so just to shout out some more people, ran into some of our fellow podcasters, right? We met Pete Flexer and Chris Ryans of Force Connect. They actually had a panel as well. They had a panel on Sunday, and we met Jared, the Dark Jedi, who came in with his family. That was pretty cool. And just actually even people we're meeting for the first time, just coming up to our table and having a conversation with us. It was fantastic. We really had a great time. We're hoping that we can continue to do this throughout the summer. We're looking into going to Boston and Chicago, but we'll see. We'll keep you updated. San
Francisco.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see. All right. So I couldn't drive up for the weekend. Yeah. Some other time, Nick, we'll get you up here, but we're really looking forward to seeing you. But it was a lot of fun. So just want to thank you, anyone who might be listening, who was there at the convention. Just thank you for just encouraging us and coming up to the table and starting a conversation and just listening to our panel and watching it. So thank you so much. All right. So any other Q&A that we want to do right now? All right. So now let's get into our topic. Our main topic is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So I rewatched it. I've seen it quite a few times.
Temple of Doom.
Oh, I'm sorry. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Right. We're not there yet.
Last Crusade is unironically not the Last Crusade because there's 2 other Crusades.
Well, we'll talk about that when we talk about the Crusade. All right, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Okay, you saw it for the first time. What are your overall thoughts of the movie?
Personally, I think Temple of Doom is better than Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Sure. Okay. You want to elaborate, or
no?
Okay. All right. That's it. All right. There we go. All right.
It's just better.
It's just better. Okay.
Temple of Doom is built different.
It definitely is different than Raiders of the Lost Ark. So I guess as we start talking about the movie, maybe you'll jog your memory about something. Good. Okay. All right. So again, I have seen the movie. The interesting thing is I don't watch it as much as I used to. It's been years since the last time I saw it. It is a good movie, and like you said, it is a different movie. So we're just going to go in and just talk about what makes Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom different than his predecessor. All right, so let's start off with the opening scene. All right, great opening scene. We had that dance number, and we saw Kate Capshaw as this cabaret singer, and she's singing "Anything Goes." It's one of these old American classics.
How old?
I really can't tell you when that was.
Because this takes place in 1936, my guy.
Is it 35 or 36?
36.
Okay, all right. And did you know that it takes place before Raiders of the Lost Ark? I don't know if you noticed that. So what they did, this was supposed to be the prequel to Raiders.
What in the hibbity jibbity?
Yeah. So this is actually taking place maybe 2 or 3 years before Raiders.
Holy Skittles.
Yeah.
That makes no sense whatsoever.
Well, I guess they could tell the story in any order. It doesn't see that the two movies don't really Connect to each other. So it doesn't have to be like, the sequel. Anyway, we look at it. Look, we still look at it. Well, the first 3 films as a trilogy. It doesn't matter when each one took place. But anyway, so we got that dance number, pretty cool dance number, and the song. Kate Capshaw is singing in Mandarin. I think she's singing in her own voice, which is pretty cool. And then, we see our first scene of Harrison Ford as Indy. And remember what we said in the first episode, how Spielberg wanted so much to do a James Bond movie.
Yeah.
And then here you have Harrison Ford walking in looking like James Bond because he's wearing the dinner jacket and the bow tie.
And the blaster hidden in his jacket.
That's true, right? He did have a blaster in his. No, was it in his jacket or did he have it in the car?
I don't know where he had it.
When he took off. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. Maybe it was in the car when Short Round picked him up. So
didn't Willie throw it out the window?
She did, right. After he fired it, then it was too hot and she didn't want to burn her nails and whatever. So she threw it out the window. So for the entire movie, he didn't have a gun. Can you imagine?
I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, that is hilarious. Yeah, that was
this
pretty.
Entire movie, this poor man is like.
Yeah, he has.
Threw my weapon out a window.
Exactly. Wow, and that was pretty interesting that he never had any weapons throughout the rest of the movie.
Well, he had the whip.
Well, it does. He still had the whip. Yep. Yeah, he couldn't take that.
Got whipped.
Yeah, right. Okay, we'll get there. All right. So let's talk about the supporting cast real quick. Okay, so Kate Capshaw, she is the leading lady. She plays Willie Scott, who is a cabaret singer. Now, I was watching a documentary.
I was about to call her Willie Nelson.
I was watching a documentary a couple of weeks ago, and it was a retrospect. It was taken many years. I think this was around the time when the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was premiering, and they were just talking to the leading ladies.
Was that 1990?
2008, I believe, is when the Crystal Skull came out. What are you saying?
So you mean to tell me it's only been 15 years since the last movie?
I think that's a long time. Okay.
I thought this thing ended like in the late 90s.
Well, okay, I will explain that to you. When we get to the Last Crusade.
There was a pause in between the Last Crusade and Kingdom.
There was a long pause. Yes, right. There weren't any indie films for a very long time. So
they did that twice?
Well, the point is, okay. So they were going to do 3 films, right? Harrison Ford was hired to just do 3 films.
So we had a 3 film
Spielberg
contract.
and Lucas decided, they agreed that it was only going to be 3 films. So we had the first 3 films. We didn't know that there was going to be a 4th indie movie. So because it was such a long, gap in between the Last Crusade and the Crystal Skull, right? So that's why. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So I'm guessing they couldn't think of anyone else, so they just brought Marion back, and that's why.
Could be, right? That could be the reason, right? Yeah, but again, we'll talk about the Crystal Skull when we get to it. So let me get to
2 weeks.
Yeah, in 2 weeks. So Kate Capshaw. So we're talking about Kate. Retrospect. She was reminiscent about her playing this character, Willie Scott.
Oh my God.
Yes, Kate.
No, I just realized. If I'm not wrong, which I probably am, we've timed it pretty much perfectly that by the time Dial of Destiny comes out, it'll just be slotted into our weekly reviews.
Well, I kind of got that schedule figured out. Yeah, so we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
So so Willie Scott, she admitted, Kate Capshaw, that she felt that this character was not going to be liked, that the character was annoying. She screams a lot, and she, to me was on the mark, because I don't know if I felt that her character was actually needed in the movie, because if you would have taken her out of the film, I think it would have been the same film.
Well, Indian Short Round would have died.
Well, okay, I see what you're saying.
Remember the trap?
Right. Okay. Yeah. That cave where the trap, and she got them to say, okay, all right.
We would have had a short trilogy if that happened.
It would have been short. Okay, right.
Yeah.
So she did.
The third movie really would have been Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, because all that would have been left was skulls.
All right, that's a good point. All right, so she did, contribute. All right. So she didn't think this was going to be, really was going to be a popular character. She screams a lot. She's always running. They even wrote it in the movie, when they're in the jungle and she's seeing all these wild animals and she's screaming. And Indy says a Short Round, the biggest trouble with her is the noise. So they knew that this,
they wrote her to be
playing
annoying.
this character, right, to be annoying and to bring
to
laughter to the film. But
I remember she passed out because of the eyeballs in the scene.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah. So, and then so let's go through the rest of the cast. Ke Huy Quan,
the MVP of this movie.
Yeah,
he never came back.
Well,
that infuriates me.
Well, who knows? Maybe he'll be back for the last movie. But
if he is not in Dial of Destiny, Lucasfilm will be receiving a very strongly worded, but not profanity-filled, email from me.
I see. Okay. All right. So he was only 12 years old when he took this role on, right? And he really did a lot. What I like is I like to see, if you're going to have a young actor in a film, that you give them something to do, right? And you make them memorable. And I think
he was goated.
Yeah, I think he was, besides Harrison, was the MVP, like the co-MVP of the film, right? And I think the movie worked because of their chemistry, if that father and son dynamic, that they had. And for 12 years old, and he really didn't have any acting experience, he did very well, and he also had to learn, those fight scenes. Had to, I believe he watched Jackie Chan films and learn his fight
remember
moves.
when he fought the cult boy, or the voodoo, the boy with the voodoo doll?
Yes, right. Yeah, that was the Maharaja, right? Wasn't it? Yeah. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I knew that.
Yes, right.
I'm just gonna call him the boy with the voodoo doll.
Okay, got it. All right. So
that's all I remember him for. That, and I remember him saying, all these old things will never happen in my land.
Yes, that's true.
And then 10 minutes later, we see him holding a needle and a doll, talking about.
Well, he was under their spell, so we'll talk about the Thuggees. All right. To round out the cast, so we had a couple of Indian actors.
The what?
The cast.
No, the Thuggees.
Roshan Seth is Chaturlai. He is the Prime Minister of Pankot Palace, and he watches over the Maharaja. And then the big baddie of the film is Mola Ram, played by Amrish Puri. Okay, so
I'll be honest, Mola Ram was a pretty good villain.
Well, yes, he was scary.
He was creepy.
Yeah,
he was absolutely creepy.
He was a
little weird, but he was a good villain.
Yes, exactly. So let's break it down.
I think Belloc was still better.
Belloc, yeah, Belloc was pretty cool. I did like Belloc. I thought he was a very good character actor, and a good character. All right, so let's talk about India, right, and the story behind filming in India. And it's a story that's I can't say if it's well known or a lot of people know about it, but
can I be honest?
Yes, Keith.
This movie is very stereotypical for the standards of today.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, it was still stereotypical.
Mm-hmm.
Like anything in this movie would not fly today.
I agree. Yeah, I think some of the things that was done back in the 80s probably would not get past us this time around. Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
So actually, they were set to film in India, but when they were shown the script, they said, no, you cannot film here. This is very stereotypical. Nobody has done this for hundreds of years. Like, well, what are you talking about? We're not letting you shoot here.
Right. So yeah, exactly right. That's what I was going to get into. So originally, the production team wanted to shoot the film in India, and the government wanted to read the script first, all right, to say, okay, well, what is this movie about? When they read the script, obviously, they read the script, and they realized, okay, well, a lot of the stuff that's in the script we find it very offensive, all right? So it's if spoilers, of course, this movie is almost 40 years old. If you have not seen it,
you're missing out on a valuable part of life.
Well, no, we're just going to tell you why the Indian government felt it was inappropriate.
Would you like me to list everything stereotypical in this movie?
Well, if you want to, we can go through and talk about it. But there were a couple of things that took place in the film. We'll talk about the feast. With the feast of the
eyeballs,
insect delicacies that were people at the table were eating at the time.
People don't eat that.
No, they don't. There's child abuse. I mean,
yeah,
the slave children.
I almost forgot about that.
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of these movies are just people kidnapping children and the main character having to free them. They did that with Love and Thunder. The entire premise that Thor was going after Gore for is because he captured all of New Asgard's children.
That's a good point.
Why you gotta bring children into the mix?
Right, but they weren't. They were just abducted, but they weren't slaves or anything. They were just being held.
They were kept in a cage.
Okay.
To be fair.
Oh, well, okay, yeah, that's just as bad.
Oh, yeah. Remember when Thor powered them up? They turned that movie into Mario at the end. He powered them all up. That was ridiculous. Remember that little girl who was holding her like her toy bunny and it was shooting lasers out of his eyes? That was
Yeah. Well, and if you recall, Keith, there was an episode, a Bad Batch episode recently where we saw the kids working in the mines, and that was that gluttonous person, pretended that he didn't have
getting whipped if they didn't do anything. They just weren't getting fed, which is arguably worse.
Well, there you go. They weren't getting fed. They weren't getting any pay for it. So I remember when I saw this episode, I said how much it reminded me of the Temple of Doom. So that's why, right? So you had these kids that were stolen from a village, and
they've been doing that a lot. Well, remember the pit, and what was that thing called? Screecher's Reach.
The pit, right? That's a very good point, because these people were being used on behalf of the Empire, so they were looking for something that the Empire felt was valuable, right?
Yeah,
they were looking for the kyber crystals. Same thing in this film where Mola Ram, was looking for these Shankara stones. Apparently there's supposed to be 5 of them, and he only had 3. So he, stole these kids from the village to have them work in the mines to search for the other 2 stones. So that was, So we had that. You had voodoo. You mentioned the voodoo doll.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Exactly.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bro.
Yes.
That kid looked maniacal. He was like,
Yeah.
Hello, Dr. Jones.
Right. And I think the sorry about that. I didn't mean to cut you off. The most controversial moment in the film would have to be the sacrifice.
Oh,
the human sacrifice.
I tried to forget about that.
Yeah, where you have a man's heart pulled out of his chest.
And he's somehow still alive.
Somehow survived until they dropped him into that fire pit, and then
That was less scary than I thought it would be.
Well, right.
I'm just looking at this like.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. I wouldn't consider it, gory. It kind of looked a little unrealistic,
right.
But just
what it looked like somebody drew that on Microsoft Paint.
What it represented, like, okay, you're grabbing this, this man's organ, and you're holding it up, and then he's being lowered down into this fire. I mean, just the
PG,
the tone, yeah, right. Yeah, it's just very
This
interesting.
movie was almost
Yeah.
PG.
Yeah. So now we're really into Act Two
Yeah.
about talking about the violence and
This
the
is
darker
a
tone. You can absolutely say something. Yes.
Yeah, I'll let you finish. Sorry. I
No,
didn't mean to
no, no,
interrupt.
no, no, no. We're gonna get into Act Two. So to me, let me just talk about how I felt. Um, Now, look, when I was a teenager when I saw this film. So really, I guess I wasn't impacted that much by the violence. But as I get older, and I look back and I say, well, what was this all about?
Yeah.
So Act One, with the scene in Shanghai at the club, and then they're getting on the plane, and then the plane is crashing, and they land in India. I thought up to that point the movie was okay, and I think it kind of lost its way when it got to that Act Two part with the violence and the darker tone.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Like Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'd say the most dark parts were when the Nazis got obliterated.
yeah, at the end.
But once again, that looked like somebody drew all over them in Microsoft Paint, so it wasn't that scary.
Well, true. Once again, right? I don't think the idea was to make it scary. For
It was
kids.
really downplayed because of the brightness of the and yet darkness of the shot. All you really saw was flames. You couldn't tell what was happening
Good
as
point.
much as you could in this scene. So imagine somebody going into the theaters because there weren't like IMDb parent guides and stuff, letters. I mean, like the Starlog, I guess.
Starlog,
I wasn't born then, but
Yeah.
I feel like people didn't know because this almost was PG. Like, imagine you going into the theater thinking, yet another PG Indiana Jones Steven Spielberg classic, and then you go in and you're like,
Yeah.
I brought my 5-year-old to see this.
Yeah, that is an excellent point, and I'm glad you brought that up because we're actually going to talk about what took place after the film was released, right? Because some things had to change, right? But we'll save that to the end. So let me get to Act Two. So once again, it went dark, but I think we said enough about Act Two. I think people get it. But Act Three,
if you didn't get the point,
yeah.
Allow me to introduce myself.
Right. So that was the point of the Indian government. Why did they not want it shot in their country?
Obviously.
So the team decided that they were going to shoot it in Sri Lanka, and then use some matte paintings here and there. So India was not involved. Okay. So now, but Act Three, I think the last third of the movie really picked up, and it felt again like an Indiana Jones film, right? So we saw the rescue of the kids, releasing the children, and
Short Round played a huge part in that.
Oh yeah. Short Round was the one who started it off because he was captured, and he was able to get himself out of his.
Willie.
Yes.
They were about to sacrifice her.
Yes.
They were about to put her in a pit of fire.
That's true. They did.
Guess they couldn't take the screaming.
Oh boy, you brought something. We're just talking about Willie a little bit. You brought something up that was very interesting. You remember what you said about Willie Scott?
Yeah.
You do? I mean, if you don't, I can tell you.
What was it though?
Okay, so what you said was, so we saw what happened at the beginning of the movie, and she's looking for the diamond, and India's looking for the antidote. Right.
India's
So
like, give me the cure.
Right. So I can understand why they needed Willie because she had something that Indy wanted. Right.
Yeah.
He needed that antidote.
Yeah, he needed that cure. My boy was breaking out in sweats.
Yeah. But once he got the antidote, what was the need for Willie? Right. Because when they got away, they got into the car that Short Round was driving.
Oh yeah, I love how they had like a 12-year-old kid driving a car.
Right, and then they took off
and doing it well.
Yes,
I mean until he crashed into that market vendor. Right. But I mean he was doing it well up until then. Under fire, especially because there were a bunch of people with guns chasing him.
Yeah. So when they got to the airport, and Indy said, "Okay, well I'm getting on this plane." Why did Willie get on the plane? She could have said, "Well, I don't know you. I just met you at this club. I'm going to take a taxi and I'm going to go back to my room and, stay in Shanghai."
Yeah, but.
So why did she get on the plane?
Oh, my God. You're right.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, Indy did take her hostage. But he didn't have a weapon at that point in time.
So it's not.
And if Willie was far enough, his whip wouldn't even be a part of the equation. So why did she go with him?
Yeah, well, it's not hostage. This is not a hostage situation. She
No,
willingly
for like 20 seconds.
No
He
pun
was like,
intended.
give me the antidote and stuff,
Yeah.
and then I'll let her go.
Yeah.
During the first scene before everything broke loose and people started running.
Yeah.
And the Cure and the Diamonds started getting kicked around.
Right. So I'm going to pose this question. Like, what do you think? So why did Willie? Because the reason why I'm asking this question is when she travels to India, and then they decide that they were going to go to Pankot Palace, and they weren't going to. Forgot where Indy said he was going, where his university is located. And then she gets upset and she falls off the elephant. She says, I should have stayed in Shanghai. I hate water. I hate being here. But why did you get on the plane in the first place?
I'm trying to think of a motive.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Because at that time, she positively hated Indy.
Right, but I don't think there was really a motive. There's nothing. They just needed to just keep this character.
They just needed to put like
so
a
I
third
just
character
thought it was a very
in there.
interesting thing. So as we're talking about the film, tell us what you think of the film. Have you seen it? What are your favorite moments in the film? Let's go to Q&A and just see what people have to say about it. Yes. Keith, I don't want you to hurt your brain.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, Willie literally stated multiple times that she hated Indy.
Well, not only that, but she hated wherever she was. She didn't like the jungle.
And she hated the palace.
Right,
She hated the food. She hated the jungle.
Right.
She hated
why
the
did you
elephant.
get on the
So
plane?
why did you go on the plane?
So Alex says, I think my dad told me that Short Round was too short or almost too short to drive and struggled to do so. Was that true? Yes, he was. He had kind of like not a car, but a wooden box attached to his shoe so that he can reach the pedal.
Yeah. I don't have to do that.
Yeah, so
let's just say I actually know how to drive.
Yeah, he was really too short to reach the pedal, so he had to put something on his shoe as a heel so that he can put it in drive.
He needed some extra inches to reach the pedals.
Exactly right. He could barely see over the steering wheel. Charlie, hey Charlie. All right, favorite scene is just watching Indiana and Short Round. Yes, see Indy wake up by Short Round. Wake up by Short Round from that hypnotize. Yes, right, exactly. That mind state and hearing John Williams play as they fight off. Yes, right.
Speaking of John Williams, we saw this amazing photo. So it's John Williams conducting every single character.
Yeah.
Or one character from every single franchise that he's conducted from. You saw E.T., you saw Jurassic Park, you saw Indiana Jones, you saw Darth Vader.
Yeah. And
it was like a bunch of important characters. We saw that at Fan Expo.
This was an artist. He was a pencilist. Excuse me.
It was classic.
I've never seen anything like it. Actually, I'm going to reach out to this artist. I don't have his name right now, but
however much that is.
Whoa, wait a second. However much, I don't know.
Depending on if it's in my range. Maybe we could pool some money and buy it.
If you are a John Williams fan, I mean, this is a photo that you need to check out. Maybe we'll put the artist's name in the YouTube description. But we saw this actually on our way out. Right, this was the end of the day, Sunday, and we saw this picture of John Williams conducting, and the musicians in the orchestra are characters from the films that he conducted and composed. It was awesome. Yeah.
And all you had to see was Vader's silhouette of that helmet.
Right, exactly.
And you're like,
so you saw
that's Vader.
And you saw Superman, and then
they had Superman with the symbols.
Mel Gibson in the background, and he's done he's done so many films. Well, Mel Gibson is an actor who starred in The Patriot that John Williams composed and conducted, so that's why he was there.
I don't believe I'm familiar with that film.
Well, you didn't see the film, so we saw E.T. and so many characters. I don't remember. We can't do it justice explaining it or describing.
You got to see it for yourself.
You'd have to see it for yourself. Yeah, exactly. All right, so we were talking about Q&A. Yeah, so Alex, the Microsoft Paint comments reminds me of a clip I saw from some old movie where an elevator crashed and the blood looked like it was from MS Paint generated. MS Paint generated.
You know what? Let me tell you something about Microsoft Paint.
Yes, go ahead.
It's positively awful to try to draw anything in, because all you get is this pixel tool that you have to drag across the screen, and it's ridiculous.
Okay, all right. So we won't use Microsoft Paint. So all right.
But
so,
that's all you get.
All right.
I'm pretty sure they have updates though.
Yeah. Let's finish up Act 3. So this is where it kicks in. It becomes an Indiana Jones film. It's exciting. It's action packed. So right. So it starts off with Short Round. He frees himself from the chains, and he goes and rescues Indy. Just like Charlie said, he had to wake Indy up with that fire. And then once Indy got back to his senses, then he went and freed all the slave children. And then that wonderful John Williams score, that played while this is all happening. Yeah, awesome.
So these children have been in there for like 2-3 months?
We don't know.
However long they were in there.
Yeah.
There were at least 1,000 of them.
Could be.
Or I don't know how many of these kids were. You mean to tell me not one of them had the idea to break their shackles with the pickaxe and get out? They literally had a sharp metal tool that they could have used to break the chains and run.
Exactly what Short Round did, right?
Yeah.
Good point.
But
these little.
I feel like the thing with these movies is the main characters have got to be the ones to do that stuff.
Exactly.
Like everyone else is just on that side character type beat.
Right, exactly.
But Short Round, Indy, Lily, they were just kind of on the fast track to main characters.
Yeah, the main characters pretty much have to do all the action. Yeah. Exactly right. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah. And then you got the mine car chase, which is
the mine cars were epic. They actually made a Lego set for that.
How nice. Yeah.
Back in the 2000s.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Really old. Marion's minifigure from back then is one of the only minifigures to date that has colored eyes. Because they made her eyes blue in those sets.
Really? Okay.
Look it up.
Well, I believe you because you're the Lego expert. Yeah.
And I also know every flavor of Skittles.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we don't have time for that. Okay.
Crazy Coors.
All right. So then,
trick plays.
And then the drawbridge was an awesome scene. Having the Thuggees. Now you mentioned the word Thuggees. So let's talk about Thuggees. What Thuggees are. So we don't know if they're even real. It's probably something out of a folklore where they were travelers who would cause havoc to innocent people. Yeah, so that's just something from centuries ago. There was a story about these people who would actually just take advantage of innocent people, and so so they brought that into the film, these Thuggees. So they're considered the bad guys, and then you got the bridge, and then Indy's in the middle of the bridge, and he decides to cut the bridge in half, and you saw the dummies fall into the water.
The dummy?
Yeah. Well, they weren't real.
Yeah.
So.
Now, they weren't even dummies.
What were they?
Clothes. Because you notice when they fell in the alligator river, you didn't see anything that looked like a dummy. You just saw clothes kind of floating on top of the water.
Oh, you said clothes.
Yeah.
I thought you said clones.
No!
like clones. Okay.
What kind of?
Well, I didn't know where you were going with this.
1930s. We didn't start cloning until like the late 2000s.
Okay. I got you. Yeah. That's editing. So when the dummies, I don't know what they did with the dummies. When the dummies fell in the water, I guess they must have brushed them off to the side, and then they took the clothes off the dummies and then gave them to the alligators, and you see the alligators.
I don't even know if those were real alligators.
They're probably not. Who knows? Yeah, I don't think. Would you be the one to feed the alligators those clothes? Like, here's another. Here's a shirt.
I would be.
Okay.
I'm sure I'd get paid plenty for that because I'd be the only person who wants to get close to them alligators.
Yeah. So that was pretty funny, but that's great editing. So Alex said the kids may sadly have learned helplessness. Yes, that's my guess for why the kids in the film didn't use the pickaxe to break free. Yeah, that was the idea of the story, right? To free these kids. So you couldn't have them free themselves or you wouldn't have a story.
What happened to that one kid who escaped?
Good
question.
You know
that one kid who came running back and was like, Dr. Jones, you got to help us, and then immediately passed out?
Right, and then he was taken by his, I don't know, his mother or maybe an older...
was he dead?
I don't think so. And I think they...
What happened?
Well, he wasn't. I can tell you why. Because the next scene, we saw Short Round come back to Indy to report what happened. So he was saying, well, the kids are still there. there's so and so here. So he must have gotten that information from the little boy. So the little boy survived. So not to worry. All right.
Oh, I'm glad.
Yeah, right. And of course, happy ending. The kids come back to the village, and the parents, mom and dad, are so thrilled, and they're running towards the kids and hugging the kids. So it
that
ended,
was the most heartwarming scene.
Yeah, it ended in a nice way. It's very interesting, the middle part of the movie to end in a happy ending like that, but it did, because it had to. Yeah. So that's it. So that was pretty much, the film. Again, if you've seen it, let me know if there's any favorite moments that you have about the movie. But so as far as box office, so the movie opened on May 23rd, 1984. It made $45.7 million the first week, which at the time was a record. And the film earned overall $333 million worldwide. And it was nominated for 2 Academy Awards, one for Best Original Score, John Williams, and Best Visual Effects, which it won for Best Visual Effects. All right, so 1 Oscar. All right, so let's talk about
33 million.
That's not bad. 330, and I think the budget.
That's amazing.
Oh yeah, and I think the budget was like maybe between $20 to $30 million. So
yeah,
that's pretty good. That's
Avatar made like $1 billion.
Oh yeah, yeah, it made $1 billion. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Endgame came in, and
yes.
they were like, "Bam!
They were competing for number 1 and number 2, right? Yeah, yeah. But I think Avatar is back to being number 1. I don't.
There's Way of the Water now.
Yeah, well, I don't think that movie made as much as the first Avatar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
right.
Let's talk about the aftermath of this movie.
So basically, Steven Spielberg, being the intellectual that he is, decided to go to the MPAA and be like, "Yo, listen, we need a rating in between PG and R. That's a pretty big gap there."
Yeah.
So that's how we got PG-13.
That's true.
So, and actually, funny thing, the first Star Wars movie to be PG-13 was Revenge of the Sith.
That's correct. Yeah.
Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of that movie.
Okay, all right, well, that's fine. Okay.
Anakin kind of, executed Order 66 on a bunch of children.
Back to Star Wars. Okay. It is a Star Wars podcast, so that's okay.
Yeah, but I'm wearing a Marvel shirt, so.
Yeah.
Time to talk about every character.
It's all Disney. It's all Disney, all right? We're all in the same umbrella. So can I say something about the rating? So you're right. You're absolutely right, Keith. So.
Do I get to read the ratings?
Yes, you can.
Yay!
Right. So let's do that. So prior to PG-13, so read off what the ratings were at the time.
Yeah. So at the time, the ratings were a G, which is general audiences, so all ages are admitted.
Yes.
PG, which means parental guidance suggested, because some material might not be suitable for children. There was R, which is restricted and under 17 requires a parent or adult guardian. And then there was X, which was like nobody older. Nobody younger than 18 was allowed in there.
Okay. I didn't know. I didn't put that in my notes, but apparently you knew that already.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they changed it to NC-17.
Wow, Keith, you did your research. Okay, that's exactly. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's true. I was going to bring that up, but Keith, you're fantastic. All right. So, yes. So those are the ratings. Now, like you said, compare Star Wars, which the original Star Wars, A New Hope, which came out in 1977, is PG. Compare that to Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, which is also PG.
Yeah.
Do you see the difference in the two movies?
Yeah. A New Hope. The most graphic thing we saw was Obi-Wan turning into air.
Probably. Yes, right. Yes. I would say so.
Except for that shot of Baru and Owen becoming charcoal.
Maybe that would probably be the most.
Yeah, they became charcoal, but I mean, that wasn't even focused on.
Right, yeah. And there was like a few seconds of a charred body. And
It was a skeleton.
They were skeletons.
I love how Luke's just like,
yeah. And
bruh. And then he left.
Yeah.
He just looked over there and he's like, well, they're gone. And then he went back to bed.
Yeah. So, and then compare again to, what is the most violent scene in Indiana Jones, and we already talked about
the man's
it.
Heart out.
Right, yeah. So that's completely different, right? And still the same rating. So I can imagine parents at that time were saying to them, to I don't know who they would say it to, but like, how could these two films get the same ratings? There's something wrong here, right?
A lot of Disney movies are PG. Wasn't Beauty and the Beast PG?
I believe so. Or it could have been G. I'm not sure. PG
Toy
or G?
Story was G.
Yeah. Okay.
Lightyear, that was PG.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I
imagine
don't have them
comparing
memorized.
Lightyear
Yeah.
to Temple of Doom.
Right. Yeah.
You see my point here?
Right. So.
Or our point?
Yeah. So you're right. So Spielberg went to the Motion Picture Association of America. They're the ones who decide what rating a film is going to get.
They're the people who added a rating in between PG and R, but they're also the people who can't decide which lane to stay in when they're showing movie ads. Like, it's approved by the MPAA, but they be showing trailers for R-rated movies in a PG-13 movie.
That's a very good point.
You know,
yeah,
I don't want to put a
right.
petition in front of these people's faces
Yeah.
that you can't show ads for movies above the rating of the one you're showing. So if you're showing a G-rated movie, you can only show G-rated previews. PG, PG previews. If you're showing an R-rated movie, you show R-rated previews. My point is, why would you want to show R-rated previews to the audience of children? Like, if you're showing that to a PG audience, you're kind of in trouble.
Yeah. You have an excellent point, because you're right. I know there are times I can't remember, succinctly, what it was, but we were going to see a PG-13 movie and we saw something that was pretty scary. And I don't remember what it was, or some kind of horror movie.
No, like, or It, or Countdown, or Us.
Yeah, why are they showing this movie?
It too.
I mean, why are they showing this trailer for a PG-13 movie?
They also showed John Wick, but I watched that. That was awesome.
Okay.
Applause to everybody who worked on the John Wick movie and the trailer.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Excuse me. Did you say you watched John Wick?
I said the trailer.
Oh, the trailer. Okay, all right. Well, was it the violent trailer, or
no? It was the one with like a pow, pow, like the hand-to-hand combat. It wasn't violent.
It wasn't violent. Okay, all right, good. I just wanted to get that straight now.
It's the one they showed when we were watching. What was it? Love and Thunder or Wakanda Forever? That's what was out.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
Remember, we were sitting next to that nice guy who gave me that popcorn bucket that I still have.
Yes, I do remember. Yeah. So Alex says, the rating system is controversial and interesting. A lot of 90s cartoons for kids had adult references and got away with them. Yeah, Animaniacs, Batman.
The animated series.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Right. So the MPAA, they're now called the MPA. They're not perfect, right? So really it falls on a parent to really know what it is their child is going to see, right? So PG-13 is now called parents strongly cautioned, right? So they caution that anyone taking a child under 13 may be inappropriate. Now, they're not saying that you shouldn't take your child under.
They're just saying, you might want to be there in the room.
Right. So they're just saying it's you just want to be. We're warning you that your child under 13 may be impacted for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
So,
And for R-rated movies, they're like, I can't tell you what to do,
right?
But I can advise you: don't bring your children here. You could scar them for life.
Yeah. So
Lord knows Bill Skarsgård scarred himself for life. I just said Bill Skarsgård scarred himself for life.
That's all right.
He played that. There's not going to be an It 3. That cloud is disturbing.
I don't know. Yeah, and
as Finn Wolfhard.
And look, parents, we do the best we can. So we don't, always know. What we're going to see, even for a PG-13 movie. So, as a matter of fact,
you know what?
Yes, I was going to make a good point, but
no, sorry, you.
Well, I wanted to say that. So this happened in 1984, right, where this PG-13 rate, and Indiana Jones was not the only movie that had an issue with violence for a PG film. There was a movie called Gremlins, right, that was executive produced by Steven Spielberg. So how about that? So he directed one movie, executive produced another. Both of them were very violent for a PG movie. So these two movies came out the same summer, back to back. And parents just put their foot down and said, look, this we're done with this. Something's got to be done. This is ridiculous. So
what was the name of that movie? It wasn't. Don't tell me. Poltergeist. Yeah.
Well,
that was PG-13, right?
No, it wasn't actually. Poltergeist came out 2 years before Indiana Jones, but that should have been cautioned as well, because that was kind of scary and not violent, but some
Dark undertones.
Yeah, some scary scenes I thought could have been considered something that might harm a child, or like impact a little child, and that was a PG movie. So, and even
can I be honest?
Can I go back even before that? You've never seen Jaws, right? Jaws was also a PG movie, and that was violent. A man-eating shark?
I don't know what you'd expect out of a movie called Jaws.
Yeah, well,
like the entire premise is that there's a shark on a beach that's eating people. The movie is literally called Jaws. I don't know if you'd want to take your 5-year-old to see a movie called Jaws.
Well, right, but it was a PG movie, so parents think, okay, well, it's PG. I can take my 5-year-old to see Jaws. So again, the rating system is not perfect, and we're not perfect either. We try to, make the best decisions for our kids. And sometimes, like what I was going to say, when you're going to see a PG-13 movie, you don't know exactly why it's PG-13, until you see the movie. And then what this also means, since this PG-13 rating started in 1984, you find that filmmakers nowadays is trying to push the limit to what they can do or say.
There's PG-13
in a PG-13 movie.
You know what happens in Guardians of the Galaxy 3?
Yeah.
It's not spoilers, but it's kind of a it's not a spoiler as to the plot at all. It has nothing to do with the plot. But Marvel drops their first F-bomb because Star-Lord says, open the door.
Yeah, right. And that's my point, because
people are really pushing the limit.
That's exactly, and these filmmakers are doing it on purpose to see how much they can get away with it.
So the reason why, I watched a MatPat theory on this. So the reason why they're allowed to do that is because the MPAA doesn't want children to hear any references, but technically it's just being used as a little bit of a spicy word to spice up the sentence.
Interesting.
So it's like, open the dang door, but times 10.
I see. So it's just because I don't know how it was said, but I expect it was something emotional, the way it was said. So it just made, I guess it just
context is Nebula's like, what do I do now? And Star-Lord just says, open the door.
I see, yeah. So okay, I get it now. I get it. Yeah. So it's more impactful if you put a word in there. All right, so that's very interesting. So that again, Jaws was PG. Yes, it was. I'm surprised. It should have been. Well, I don't know if it should have been an R. But
personally, I think it should have been PG-13.
Yeah, but we didn't have PG-13 back then. So Carlos, when I was a kid, Temple of Doom was the indie movie I wasn't allowed to watch. How about that?
Welcome to our channel, by the way.
Yeah, thank you so much. And yes, you are new to the channel, so and thank you for commenting. That's a very good point.
2 fun facts.
Yes.
So, did you know that the first person who was attacked by the shark wasn't told that they were the first person to be attacked by the shark? So them screaming and being like, that was real. They had no idea what was pulling them under.
Oh, so you're saying there's something underneath that was actually...
It was just a rig that was pulling them down. But they had no idea. She had no idea that she was being pulled under.
Well, it worked because, she played that scene as if she was really being attacked. Yeah. And the amazing thing at YouTube, you can get all this information on YouTube. You don't have to see the movie, but there's just so much information out there, that, you're picking up on some things that you're learning. Parents can't compete with that,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now, as far as Alex's comment about how some curse words are allowed in some result in R rating, I've done my research on this. Personally, I find all of these things funny, except for, certain types of words that are just way beyond being hilarious and just never say these to anyone ever. But, it just depends on the context of how you're saying these words. As long as you're saying them as just something to spice up your sentence, it does not necessarily require an R rating. Can't be PG, though. You can't put anything above the D word in anything that's above. You can't put anything above that in PG. So everything else is just it just goes up.
Got it. I got it.
Is my point. Yes. And then most of these words are allowed in PG-13, but you just really get free reign when you're up in R-rated territory.
Yeah. Right. And Carlos, yeah, I took my fiance to watch Poltergeist on the big screen, and it was shocked it was a PG. Yeah, exactly.
You know,
that was in 1982.
To speak to your point about how parents don't know if they're don't know why a movie's PG-13 or not.
Mm-hmm.
Eternals. So glad we did not see that in theaters. Like I would have only been there to see the reactions of the other parents who have young children watching the opening of Eternals.
Yeah, you're right.
Like I would have just loved to hear the parents be like, oh my God, honey, cover your eyes. You don't want to see this.
Yeah.
I'm just like, fast forward.
Yeah, it feels a little unfair for parents.
Yeah.
Because, again, all this is just filmmakers pushing the limit to see how much they can get away with it. Because up to that point, we didn't see that kind of moment or scene in a Marvel film.
Marvel's just really been pushing it.
Right.
Lately.
Yeah, exactly.
Like most of those things are never shown on screen and rarely talked about.
And they need to be careful because at some point they're going to do something or say something in the film and it's going to be hit with an R rating, and then they're going to have to resort to cutting some of these scenes out because they don't want to. Well, listen to what I'm saying. Like I'm way off base because I was going to say Marvel doesn't want to release an R movie, but they've done that already. I mean, Logan is an R movie, but
and Deadpool, and Deadpool. That came first.
But the target audience to me for a Marvel film is preteen
and adults
and up, right? So you don't want to, so you don't want to turn your back on the preteens because they're the ones who are buying the magazines, or they're buying the comic books, they're buying the
Blade
toys.
as well.
Yes, right.
Because Blade was New Line Cinema.
Right.
The X-Men was Fox.
True.
I'm pretty sure Deadpool was that Sony. No. It was
Deadpool's Marvel.
Yeah, it's still Marvel, but it's like in a separate part of Marvel.
Right. Yeah.
Spider-Man has all been Sony.
Yeah.
So they really split up all their properties into different subcategories.
Yeah.
And now they're bringing them all together. But I'm just thinking here. Doctor Strange 2.
Yes. The Multiverse of Madness.
You know how I'm trying to think of a funny way to talk about what happened to Black Bolt.
Yeah,
Black Bolt turned to mush. Mr. Fantastic became SpaghettiOs. Captain Carter got the half-off deal, and they turned Captain Marvel into crushed corn chips.
There you go.
So, who came up with this? And there were supposed to be 2 more, actually. So Wasp was supposed to get shrunk down to size and stepped on by Wanda, and she was also supposed to decapitate Mordo at the beginning of the film. Wow. So there was supposed to be more of this.
Yeah. So again, maybe the reason why they cut it out because if they kept it in, it would have been R-rated.
Yeah, and you know what else?
They didn't want.
They actually had to go back and redo the movie because it was so bad with their test audience that they had to rewrite it. And that's why it took so long.
Wow.
I watched the scene and I'm like, they just shredded Mr. Fantastic. What am I watching?
I know it.
They just put Mr. Fantastic in a paper shredder.
I know you and your mom went to see the Multiverse of Madness.
I'm like, my God,
when you came home and told me what was going on in that movie, I couldn't believe it. I was in shock.
Wanda was unhinged.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm just like, you expect me to believe that this woman who had children that were not real and a husband who sadly passed away thanks to Thanos, who she brought back.
You don't want to go too far.
And then reconcile the fact that she was gonna have to let it go.
Yeah.
And then a while later, she just comes back and she's like, I want my children back with that Sokovian accent that I thought they got rid of in Infinity War and then brought back for no reason whatsoever.
Got it. Yeah. So we're talking about the ratings, right?
So, does she not think that there would be a world where she either left or something happened, but Vision and her kids are still alive and she could just go there?
Yeah. Now, Carlos says, on the other hand, I remember reading that Fantastic Four 2005 came in at a PG, so they adjusted the scene to make it more intense to bump it up to a PG-13 because there's money to be made.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I saw both of them,
I
so
can
I can really see why they made that PG-13.
Well, right, but Carlos's point is PG-13 is a moneymaker because a lot of, I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm sure a majority of the films that are being released
PG-13
are released PG-13 because PG-13 films make more money because
it's a broader audience.
It's a broader audience.
Exactly. All the adults without limiting all of the teens.
Exactly.
And the adults will likely come in with their teens to watch the movie.
Right, or even the preteens who maybe can't take themselves to the movies without a parent or an adult.
Oh.
Right, so you don't want to isolate that part of your audience.
Like
so
I was
PG-13 is like the sweet spot.
I can really see why they're made PG-13 because, especially because the Human Torch and Invisible Woman, they kind of needed to bump that up a bit in the ratings.
Right. Now, what's interesting to me, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is actually PG. Did you know that? It's PG. I was very surprised that it got a PG rating. Unless I'm making a mistake, you can let me know out there. But it's a PG movie, and it's doing gangbusters. So who knows? So the reason why I'm bringing up Across the Spider-Verse is that this coming, we have not seen it yet, right? So please hold your spoilers. So we're hoping that we'll check it out, and then we wanted to let you know that we are going to be moving our live streams to Sunday. So, in the past, we've had a live stream on Wednesday and Sunday. We're going to keep for now, we're going to keep the live streams going on Wednesdays, every Wednesday. And then we're going to move the second live stream to Sundays. So this coming Sunday, which is June 11th, we will do a spoiler review of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Mm-hmm. I know you guys probably want to hear us review Guardians. We're trying.
Yeah, well, we'll get there. Yeah, all right.
We'll see.
I know it's been a month. We have not forgotten. All right.
So all these movies are PG. Every Spider-Verse movie is PG.
Okay. So Alex you're not going to see it until Monday. All right. So we're going to try to see it Saturday. So we don't want to spoil it for you. So whenever you see it, just let us know, and then just leave us a comment. We'll talk about it. So that's what we're doing. So again, starting this Sunday, we'll have our a weekly live stream on. We'll have Sunday live streams starting this Sunday, and we'll continue the live streams on Wednesday. So it'll still be 2 days a week. All right, and then I think that is it. So next Wednesday, we'll continue our discussion on Indiana Jones and talk about Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. All right, which is the third film in the Indiana Jones canon. All right. So I think this was a great episode. I think we learned a lot, and it was a interesting topic. It was a little spirited, so that was good. I like it when it's that way. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll check in, make sure if there is any other further Q&A comments, let us know. In the meantime, Keith, where can people find us?
Wherever. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Fatherson Galaxy, website FatherSonGalaxy.com, merch store, FatherSonGalaxy.myspreadshop.com, Patreon page, patreon.com/FatherSonGalaxy, email us at KERD@FatherSonGalaxy.com, and join us on our race to 1,000 subscribers.
Oh, yeah, this is very important. Let's talk about this. So
we're at 935.
Can I tell you, this
936 as of now?
This past weekend, being at the Fan Expo in Philly, we picked up 27 new subscribers, which is awesome.
Just from asking people to subscribe.
Right. Yeah. Well, in different reasons. I mean, they heard our podcast episode.
And I watched people stare blankly at us and be like, nah.
Okay.
Well, I'm not subscribing.
I'm talking about the people who did subscribe. Yes. I'm assuming
they're the ones who get the shine.
Yeah, right. So they either listened to our panel and then subscribed, or they went to the table and we gave out business cards. We gave out flyers with
people
our QR
just kind of
code.
hanging around at a table. A bunch of cosplayers were taking photos.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
that's fine.
Allow me to introduce myself. Here's business cards for
we
all
start
of you.
Passing out flyers.
Check out our show.
Exactly. So we gained 27
Stop
subscribers.
posing in front of here without paying us.
So our point is, we're trying to get to 1,000. So please, let's continue this race to 1,000. By the end of June, we would like to be at 1,000 subscribers. It's a very important number for us. So please, if you are already a subscriber and you know somebody who's not, tell them to subscribe. It doesn't cost them a thing. All right. So wonderful. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're good. Did we cover everything?
Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much, everyone. This was a lot of fun. We enjoyed it talking to you. And if you're listening at a later time, of course, leave a comment anywhere you feel comfortable leaving one. We will definitely get back to you. But until next time, take care. We will see you again.
Next week, Indiana Jones and the Third Crusade. Be here or be square.